Alright, hello everybody. Welcome to my TED Talk. Today I'll be talking about the Tour de France. I'm actually watching it right now. I believe today is stage 16. And this all started because I was talking with my friend Brian, and I was talking to him about how I'm really excited about the Tour de France and how I've been learning a lot watching it every day. And so take everything with a grain of salt because I literally just learned everything this year and within the last couple of weeks. But for those that don't know anything about the Tour de France, maybe you'll learn something about the Tour de France from someone that knows a little bit about the Tour de France. Okay, so let's begin with the course. The course is all throughout France, but they actually started from Barcelona, Spain this year. And what's really cool about the tour is that they change the course every year. And so there's some very notable parts of the tour that I believe they do pretty much every year, some very special climbs in the Alps, but every year is a different course. So that's what makes it kind of interesting because you never know year to year what you're going to see, essentially. And now I'm watching rewatches of like 2020, 2021, and they're talking about how like 2020 was a really tough course. Even this year, they were talking about how there was like a little city in France, and they repaved the road, hoping that the tour would one day come to their city, and then now it's come to their city, and it hasn't been there since like 1950s or something. There's different teams, and you can see right here, so like EF is in this pink jersey, and then like teams are denoted by the jerseys that they wear essentially. So it's very clear to know who's who and what's what on each team. And what's important about the teams is that usually there's like a very strong rider on each team, and everyone else on the team is there mostly for support. So by support, what I mean is drafting is a crucial element within cycling, but also a teammate can help defend, can help attack, moral support, and like there's been times where like people like give up their bikes for teammates and stuff. So having a teammate is very critical. Having a strong team is also very critical, because drafting is very critical. And if y'all don't know the science about drafting, when you're in the peloton, which is the big group, which is usually like where everyone sits, I think the statistic is like when you're biking, wind resistance is your biggest enemy. So when you're sitting in the back of the peloton, 80 to 90% of the wind resistance is cut out when you're sitting in the back. And then when you're in a line like this, like you can see that they're in a line, I believe it's like 40%. 30 to 40% of wind resistance is cut out. So actually the first person is the guy who's leading is pulling everyone. They're taking the brunt of the 30 to 40%. And the people right behind them are taking advantage and able to save energy and save watts and save their legs essentially by not having to pull. And what happens usually is like it's a cycle, and one person will pull, and then how you signify it is you flick your elbow and you move to the back, and then you kind of work in this rotation. So how the tour works is that it's a race within a race, and I'll explain more about that a little bit later, but there are 21 stages in 23 days, and it's comprised of different types of stages. So there's very like flat courses, so the elevation is not very intense, and that is more suitable for like sprinters. And there are very hilly sections of the course, and those are more advantageous to climbers, bikers who are very adept to climbing. And then there's time trials. So there's individual time trials where basically you're by yourself and there's no drafting, and it's basically first person to get from start to finish wins. And then there's group time trials or team time trials where you work as a team and basically your team has to cross the finish line as a unit. And so those are kind of the four main types of events amongst the tour. Okay, now let's talk about the jerseys. And this is kind of where it gets a little bit confusing, but I'll try to break it down as best possible. So, the most famous and well-known jersey is the yellow jersey. And right now, as I'm speaking today, Tadej Pogačar is holding the yellow jersey. And the person with the yellow jersey is the person who has the least amount of time amongst all the stages. So from start to finish, from all the stages, cumulatively, Tadej Pogačar has the least amount of time. And so he dons the yellow jersey. Okay, so now we talk about the green jersey. The green jersey is awarded to the best sprinter. And so when I was talking about the sprinting stages, those are the flatter stages, and for each stage there's usually like there's a sprint in every stage. And basically what a sprint is it's like a gate, and the first person through the gate gets a certain amount of points, and it varies. If it's a very flat course, the amount of points you get is a lot. Usually on those it's like 20, 16, and then it goes down. So the first person that crosses the gate gets 20 points. And then when it's a hilly course, it goes down to like, it's very little. Sometimes it's like 2 points and 1 point. It depends. Like they'll usually tell you like what the sprint categorization is. And right now, the person with the green jersey, his name is Mads Pedersen. And it's funny because like, so that's why it's a race within a race, because they're literally like just cruising along and getting to these stages, these points in the race, and then they're doing an all-out sprint through the gate, and then boom, and right after they get through the gate, they start chilling for a little bit until the next like little event. And because they're cycling like 100 miles in a day, it's like 4 hours on the saddle. It's ridiculous. Okay, I have a lot of gripes actually with the green jersey. It used to be like kind of like a neon green, and it used to be like a very fluorescent neon green. Not a neon green, but like a very vibrant green. And now it's like a forest green, and it's very, very, very hard to see Mads Pedersen amongst the peloton. He kind of just blends in. And so if anyone in the Tour de France is watching my TED Talk right now, please change the color back to what it used to be, because damn, I cannot even understand. Sometimes they're like, Matt Pedersen is going on an attack, and I'm like, bro, I don't even know who it is, because he just looks like a normal ass rider. But that's another thing that, okay, I'll talk about what I love about the Tour de France in a little bit. Let's save my thought. I'll remember that. Okay, let's get back on track with the polka dot jersey. So the polka dot jersey is the same kind of concept as the green jersey, but it's for the leader of the King of the Mountain. And the King of the Mountain is the exact same concept, where there's a gate, and usually it's at the top of a gnarly ass climb, and same thing. Points gets awarded for anyone who crosses the gate. And there's different classifications for these mountains, and there's 5 of them. And how it gets categorized is there's category 4, category 3, category 2, category 1, and then there's this French word. It's like hors d'oeuvres or something that's like not even categorizable. So it's like out of this world type of efforts. And these are like, when I'm watching these mountains, they're like insane in the freaking membrane. They're climbing over like, it's insane. Like at that point, you might as well just walk your bike. But these mad lads are mad. Okay, so yeah, so that is the polka dot jersey. And actually this year, Tadej Pogačar is in the lead for the polka dot jersey, but he also wears the yellow jersey. And that's where I wish maybe there was like some polka dots on his yellow jersey too, where they can make a special use case. But the second place person actually is wearing the polka dot jersey this year. And that's kind of how it works. Like if you are in the lead of 2 of these jerseys, the second place person wears it. And then the last jersey that is of significance in the Tour de France is the white jersey. And the white jersey is for, I believe, the youngest rider, and it is on January 1st, 2027, if you're under 26, then and you have the fastest time, then you're awarded the white jersey. And I have a lot of gripes with this white jersey because, again, as you can see, like, look, there's this guy has a white jersey on. A hell of people have the white jersey on, so how am I, like, the pink jersey, the EF team, great jersey. And then there's a purple team, great jersey. But dude, this guy has a white jersey, this guy has a white jersey, this guy has a white jersey. Like, how am I supposed to know the youngest rider? And also, I want to say, Peacock does a great job of denoting what's happening. So you have this leader, okay, so how it works is there's a peloton. The peloton is going goddamn 40 miles per hour. That's insane. And they're 20 seconds behind this leader pack of 10 riders. But you can see the yellow jersey, green jersey, white jersey, polka dot jersey are all in this peloton. And so it's very easy to understand that the peloton is comprised of these people, and then the leaders, which I want to talk about. So the leaders, or the breakaway group is actually kind of what makes the tour a little bit exciting too, because usually what happens is because if you're just watching the peloton move, it's a little bit boring. But then usually what happens in these stages is like 1 or 2 people, or even 10 people in this case, or even like 30 people kind of split off from the peloton and go on attack. And it's kind of fun because there's this like kind of yo-yo aspect amongst the race, because these races are like 4 hours long. So, you know, the peloton catches up to the breakaway group, but then another breakaway group starts, and then they catch up, and it's kind of like bing bong, bing bong, bing bong. And so and then within the breakaway group, you kind of learn these new characters because the cameras are on them, and so everyone has like their own specific swag, their own style. They have their jersey, they have their fit, and so you kind of just learn. This is my Love Island. You know, I'm learning all these new characters, and I'm learning how people ride and how people struggle and how much pain that they show in their face, and you know, it's kind of funny. I want to talk about Tadej Pogačar. So what I'm learning about the tour too, especially this year, is winners are made, especially this year. I'm just talking about this year. He won it in the mountain. So there's been about 3 mountain stages, and he absolutely dominated these mountain stages, and there was no competition. So this year, if you're kind of following along, there's 2 people to kind of take note of. Tadej Pogačar and Jonas Vingegaard, and he's some Danish dude. And actually, Tadej Pogačar won the Tour de France 2 years in a row, 2020 and 2021. Jonas Vingegaard won it 2022 and 2023, back to back. And then Tadej Pogačar won it the last 2 years, 2024, 2025. What I'm kind of understanding is that Tadej Pogačar is an absolute animal when it comes to climbing, and he shows no signs of issues. And he's like sitting in the saddle while everyone's kind of climbing and, you know, doing this whole like sway, and they're like fighting for their lives. He shows no emotions, and he is not human. I'm learning, and I'm scared of him. But as I'm learning more and more about him, it seems to me that like he's just the greatest athlete of our generation. Not a lot of people know about him, but he basically is just a winner, and he wins everything. And when it comes to like smaller races to bigger races, it's like when we're talking about running, he wins the 100-meter dash, and he also wins the marathon, and so he wins everything in between too. So he is such a well-rounded athlete that it's uncomprehensible like what exactly he's doing in the sport of cycling, as in the sport of everything. Like, he is just an animal. Okay, the second thing I love about the tour is the atmosphere. The atmosphere is insane. Of course, the tour is the most popular and famous bike ride of all time, and for good reason. You know, it's kind of, I think it's, you know, I used to follow it a lot when Lance Armstrong was in it, and then I haven't followed it for a long time, and then now with Danny got me back into biking. When you watch like the the crowd and the vibes of these crazy Frenchmen, and I'm sure it's not just I'm sure there's other people, there's not just Frenchmen, but like these fans are insane, especially in the mountain stages. Especially there's a couple like choke points where these fans are just like on the course. They're on the course and they're cheering their ass off, but they're also insane. They're like touching the riders, they're lighting flares, they're literally running with them, they're dancing, they're singing, they're like, this is their main event of the year, and it's very clear that like they take this very, very, very damn seriously. And you know, they like, I'm sure they come year after year, and I'm sure if I was born in France, it would be the same story where I would be showing up to these events and supporting and literally seeing my heroes on the course doing like mind-boggling things. I should have wrote these things down. I'm kind of just like, this is a TED Talk, so there's no room for notes, I guess. I think I also enjoy the tour because literally like, well, you never know what's gonna happen for one, but also there's so much to learn about. It's not just a race. It's not just like you go from point A to point B, and that's it. But there's so much like there's so many nuances to the race. Like within the race, there's races and there's so much strategy. Each rider has an earpiece within as they're riding. So, you know, like they have the team support and they're communicating, and you know even people from different teams are talking, and I love that. And then there's like a lot of drama too. Like weather can be an impact. There's like massive falls too. People have to like bail out because they get injured. There's there's pileups. There's photo finishes. So it's all really damn dramatic. Okay, and then so this is kind of like the course map today. So they're going from Champanole to Plateau de something. And so they're kind of giving a recap of what's going on today. And you can see like this is actually the sprint stage. And so watch these oh, so this is Mads Peterson in right here in the middle. He's wearing the green jersey, and as you can see, you can't really tell, but look, he won that section of the sprint. And see, look, they're communicating and they're chilling right now because they just finished the sprint. And so this is climb number 1. It's a category 3, and so this is, I believe, what's his name? And so but he's wearing the pink jersey. Very easy to recognize the EF team. And so like now they're sprinting up the mountain, and you can see all the support right here. They're going crazy. I don't know. I've been watching the highlights every day. I've also been I've obviously been watching the live every for as much as I can, but I believe I talked about everything I want to talk about. The only thing constant about the race is that they end in Paris, so it always finishes in Paris. So we're at stage 15, 16 out of 21. So in 6 more stages, they're gonna be finishing in Paris. And actually, the next there's 3 back-to-back mountain stages, and so I believe it's like 18, 19, 20. So those are kind of the key dates to watch if you're kind of gonna follow along. And these are the stages that I believe are going to be making and breaking the tour this year. Of course, Tadej Pogačar, I believe he has like a almost like 3 to 4 minute lead, and in the realm of cycling, that's a massive lead. When you're going 40 miles per hour, 30 to 40 miles per hour on average, that's so far along. But you never know what's going to happen. He might have a bad day, or he might get sick, or might get injured, God forbid. But anything could happen, and so I'm really like invested in this. And then see this is what I don't understand. Like, how are these bikers allowed to just draft this car? It's a little bit unfair, but there's also another aspect that I'm learning, which is the team can support the rider for 5 seconds. So you can see like as they're collecting their water bottles, they're literally holding hands. And the biker is just coasting because he's holding hands with the person in the car on the water bottle and getting kind of pulled, and they're communicating. They're like probably talking about strategy, but then for 5 seconds they're holding it and then they grab the water bottle and then they do this song and dance again where they're holding the water bottle for 5 seconds and then I'm just like it's just like there's a lot of like nuances and things to pick up as you're watching these riders race, but at the end of the day, it's so like I am so impressed with the feats of endurance, of strength, of power, of biking that I'm seeing. They're literally in the saddle for, I think right now it's 40 hours. I think at the end they're gonna be in the saddle for like 70 to 80 hours. They're literally climbing 12,000 feet sometimes in a day. They're biking for more than 100 miles in a day. It is insane, back to back to back, day after day. I don't know if people understand if you don't know biking, but that is actually cannot be comprehended. It's literally like running a marathon day after day and not giving yourself a break and sprinting and jogging and sprinting and jogging and climbing, and it's so insane the amount of I really cannot. I'm sometimes when I watch it, I'm in awe. And so thank you for attending my TED Talk today. If you made it this far, if there's even a single viewer that is witnessing what I'm talking about right now, I really appreciate all of y'all because you are enjoying my passions of this passion as much as I enjoy this passions of this passions, if any passions is anything passionable. And I hope anyone except Danny learned something from this, because I'm sure Danny knew everything that I said, but I'm sure someone learned something because there's a lot to be learned about the world of the Tour de France, and I'm learning day by day. So yeah, I think the tour has won a lifelong fan in me, and I'm gonna be tuning in every year now. So yeah, thank you for attending my TED Talk, and for Brian, I hope you got what you need from this video.